r/NuclearRevenge. First story. Steal my money, take my house, put me into debt. Now it's time for me to ruin your life. Repost from r/ProRevengers. People said it belongs here. My ex stole from me close to 90k euros which I saved up for 9 years, and when I took her to court, I lost due to lack of evidence. At the moment I felt destroyed and lost it all. She even sued me for emotional damages, and I had to pay 55k euros. So I was forced to sell my house and take a big loan from the bank. I stayed at a friend and helped me find some good lawyers, and we just found an amazing one. In one day he helped me so much and even helped me get the info of who took money from my bank account. Something was wrong. 29th of June a transaction happened in my name. I never made it. I was not in the country at the time. Well, would you look at that. I was ready to get back into court when I found out that she bought my house. Well, I have a safe that I never told her about hidden in the bathroom behind the cabinet. Well, she ruined my life. Why not ruin her even more? So I had an accomplice that helped me buy some drugs worth about 400 euros and used a friend to hide it there. The safe has a 4-digit code, that being 0000. Never got to change it to something else. And before taking her to court again I had that same friend who hid the drugs turn her in. It took about a week for the cops to receive a mandate to search the house. They found nothing in the first 2 hours, and they wouldn't if my friend forgot to leave the safe cover open. That 400 euros worth of drugs are equal to a 5k euro fine and 12 years of prison. Well, I'm not done yet. Court time again. I had my lawyer get the footage from when the money from the bank was transferred, and also I had a document showing that I was not in the country at the time. We also found out the account to which the money was sent to. The name was that of my ex. Well, look how the tables have just turned. My lawyer also demanded payment for emotional damage, all the money that was stolen, the house, and also money equivalent to 2 times the debt I had in the bank, which is equal to about 140k euros. The look on her face when everything came down crashing on her was totally worth it. And on top of the 12 years from drug possession, she received an additional 25 years for theft and false testimony. Enjoy it, bitch. Second story. I wanted my father to understand I wasn't coming. This is my first time posting. Sorry for the formatting. My parents divorced when I was in 1st grade. Not only did my dad disappear like Houdini, he stole my mother's ATM card to her personal account and drained her dry. My mother, being the saint she is, didn't even bat an eye. She still was cordial to him and never said a negative word about him. To me, my dad, albeit abandoning us, was still my hero. From 1st through 5th grade I had the usual abandoned by dad stories. Maybe 1 or 2 visits in a year and a 50 times of me waiting by the front window with my suitcase packed to go to his house and him never showing up. My mom through all of this was supportive and never said an ill word about him. So he still stayed my hero. When I was in 6th grade my mother finally remarried and my father, who only had a picture of me at 8 months old in his wallet, went ballistic. Did I mention he never paid child support? He would use his father's social, they had the same name, to get away with it. After my mom remarried, he let it be known that I was now my stepdad's responsibility. He cut off communication with me until I graduated high school. He didn't attend my graduation or send a card. What he did do was write me an email thanking God he no longer had to pay child support. He didn't anyway. What really broke me was his ruthless and brutal attack on my mother. Attacking her weight, looks, teeth, and blaming any perceived negative traits that I had on her. For the first time I realized what an cowardly piece of shit he was. I responded in kind. He told me I was no child of his and that I was a waste. After that I vowed that I would hurt him. 10 years later, my father, not interested in my wedding or my son, reached out to me. You see, he is a diabetic and one of his organs were failing and he didn't have long. He's too far down on the list and he needed someone in our family to donate. NuclearRevenge activated. I answered his email. I met up with him and pretended that I didn't hate his guts. I went and got tested to see if I was a match. I was. Did the therapy and met with doctors and his therapist. We scheduled the surgery. The day of the surgery we meet at the hospital. I smiled in his face and let him know that I wouldn't be going through with the surgery. I watched the confusion line his face. I just wanted you know that you're no father to me and you're a waste. I left the hospital and drive home. My mom was pretty annoyed with me that I took it that far. My father is dying and I will be attending the funeral out of spite. And I will let everyone know what a piece of shit he was. TLDR, father abandoned me and called me a waste. Later in life he needs an organ. I agree and match with him and abandon him at the hospital the day of the surgery after calling him a waste. He will die and I will ruin his funeral. Edit 1. This really blew up. For those questioning my actions I will give further detail. My father was / is semi-obsessed with my mother. His attachment to us was only in his perceived ability to get back with my mother. In the beginning he would call and make plans to see us and just not show up. My mom would have to make up excuses. He has been married over 4 times and supports and loves his stepkids without a thought to us. Once my mother remarried he was done with us. He kept in contact with my mother through email, but had no interest in talking to his children. I have reached out to him before to invite him to my graduation, to let him know of my marriage, and that he was a grandfather. All I got back was pictures of his new wife's kiddos. Upon getting to know him, after agreeing to donate, I went to one of his therapy sessions at his request. There I heard the story of the true reason he contacted me. I listened as he lamented about his impending death. How he was resigned to his fate, only to have his new wife remind him of his former kids and maybe one of them will donate. And he got excited because he had forgotten all about us. And it was like hope renewed. Do you know how shitty it is to listen to the person who is responsible for your very existence talk about forgetting your very existence? Like I was a pair of sturdy old boots that gather dust in the back of the hall closet. Now rediscovered I was to be worn to go shovel shit. I knew then I wasn't going to give him anything. Thanks for the silver and gold. Edit 2. I'm not worried about a will or being left anything. He had nothing to leave. He's the male equivalent of a gold digger. He only marries women who can take care and support him as he mooches off of them. He stole thousands from my mother and she didn't press charges because she didn't want her children's father in jail. My mother was his first wife and he learned his lesson not to have kids of his own, but to move into ready-made families. His ex-wives and their children have nothing nice to say about him. When I told him I wasn't going through with it, he understood exactly why. He nodded his head in understanding. I already was approached for money to contribute to the funeral and I will. Third story. Favorite teacher gets wrongfully fired, so I get 3/4 of the staff arrested. I'll start off by saying this happened to my sister, and the actions taken were hers. My sister has always gotten along very well with her teachers, and has a habit of forming actual friendships with them, to the point that she still talks to her 5th grade English teacher, along with many others, decades later. This happened about 15 years ago. My sister was a student at Job Corps, a government-run live-on-campus vocational training program, studying hotel/motel management. She got on extremely well with her hotel/motel management teacher, better than pretty much every teacher she'd already had up to that point. One day, the teacher goes to the center's dean's office and walks in on a paper shredding session. It turned out that there was some pretty major embezzling happening at the center, as in more than 60% of the funds for the center were being stolen. The teacher was appalled, and despite some rather lucrative offers made, refused to join in on these acts. Less than a week later, the teacher was fired for trumped up reasons. This was especially bad given the teacher was only 2 years away from retiring, and being fired, lost their retirement package. Needless to say, my sister was pissed, knowing how things typically work, and that almost any report she tried to make would just be swept under the rug if it was taken seriously at all. She came up with a plan and took things nuclear. Over the next month or two, my sister managed to gather some basic evidence of the embezzling. Nothing concrete, but enough to warrant considerable investigation by the authorities. She took the little evidence she was able to gather, along with the story of what happened to her teacher, and sent the info in an email to the Job Corps regional director. Now, like I said, she knew that her email would likely be ignored, or the event swept under the rug, so she got smart. The email was CC'd to every single major person in the Job Corps chain of command, all the way up to the national director, as well as to anyone even tangentially related to Job Corps in the upper echelons of the Department of Labor, and every member of Congress, as well as the US President's office. Remember, this was a government-run program. All in all, the email was sent to over 2,000 people. Basically, she not only sent the report, but sent it in such a way that everyone who got it could also see everyone else who got it, and she sent it to way more people than would be needed to ensure the issue couldn't be swept under the rug. 2 weeks later, after the investigation finished, never seen the government work so fast on anything that wasn't collecting owed taxes. Only 5 or 6 staff members, out of 20-ish, that worked in the center, still had their jobs, and at least 5 of the ones fired, including the dean, were facing major criminal charges, with the rest facing minor charges. I'm not sure of the exact figure on how much was stolen, but it was well into the 7 digits. The embezzling had been happening for years. The teacher got a very nice severance package post-investigation. It was 3 years of pay, her full retirement package, and signing her NDA, though she didn't get her job back, and my sister was given her completion certificate. Despite not having finished the requirements of the course, they wanted her gone, but couldn't kick her out.